Hello all, welcome to All Set Ready. So today we are going to see how to choose the right engine oil for a car. Okay, so before that we will understand what happens inside the engine oil, inside the engine with the engine oil. Usually what we will do, we will pour our engine oil from the top, it will get settled at the drain pump. That's what we know, right? So what actually happens when we crank the car, there is something called oil pump. This will suck the oil from the sump and it sends to oil pump. This oil pump, this sends to oil filter. As the name implies, it's a filter, right? So this is going to filter all the debris and the sludges behind, and the fresh oil is going to pass through the circulation path, camshaft, rings, piston, and it's going to fall in the same sump again. That is the function of oil. Okay, and this process has to be repeated again and again. This is the whole concept of engine oil's functionality inside the engine. Okay, before that we need to understand few more things. So oil can exist in two states. One is thin state and another is thick state. And when the oil can be thin is when it's hot, and when the oil can be thick is when it's cold. I think everyone can link with any oil. Okay, so whenever the oil is going to be cold, it's going to be thick. Okay, assume that you have parked your car yesterday night in your parking lot, and tomorrow morning you want to start your car for the first time. At this time what actually happens, the oil would get settled at the bottom and it will be very cold. Okay, so cold oil is obviously going to be a thicker oil, correct? So when I crank it for the first time, the oil has to be pulled by the oil pump, it has to pass through the oil filter, all the parts, piston, and it has to get back to the sump again. And this whole process is going to be very slow because the oil is very thick. So before the oil reaches to the drain sump, right, to the oil pan, this sump, right, the piston might have ran for 10 to 15 times without proper engine lubrication, if I am not wrong. So it might have not got the proper engine oil, right, before the oil reaches for the first time. That's where the actual wear happens. So this is also metal, this is also metal. The engine oil is taking 90 seconds to come back to its position, and in the meantime this particular part had run some 10 to 15 times without any proper oil. So there was huge friction, and also there is a huge wear and tear for your engine components. Okay, this is the first thing. This is for the cold start. And once the cold start is done, right, automatically the oil is going to get heated, the thermostat is going to open, and now the oil is going to flow with heated oil is going to flow. So once the oil gets heated, it's going to be thin. So we know, right, so when oil gets heated, it's going to be thin. So in the subsequent runs it will be little faster, like it may get completed in 30 seconds, which is acceptable, because once the oil gets its flow, right, even if it takes 30 seconds, it's going to flow again and again. So we are good to go. But the cold start is the one which is creating the highest wear and tear. Okay, so how to handle this? So to handle this, we need to understand how the oil is measured. So oil is measured through viscosity index. Okay, viscosity index will have values like 0, 5, 10, 15. So I have given up to 50, but it may go on. Okay, and assume that this viscosity index is tightly coupled to these parameters. Okay, so lower the viscosity, the thinner the oil is; higher the viscosity, thicker the oil is. Okay, let's just this is the actual parameter. So whenever we go and buy an engine oil, right, we would be seeing some parameters like 5W30, 5W40 something. So for now let's take 5W30. Here W stands for winter. So winter is not for us actually. So winter is for the oil. So for oil, what is winter? It is nothing but you have parked your car yesterday night and today morning you have to start the car, which means that the oil is going to be completely cold. So that is what the winter measures here. During the first start, during the first start, how cold the oil is going to be, and at that cold point, the oil should have which viscosity. So that's what mentioned prior to W, which means that the oil should have viscosity of 5 when it is cold. So let's connect here. So when it's cold, the oil is going to have the viscosity of 5, and this 5 is going to fall on thinner side, which means that during my cold start, with the oil having viscosity of 5, it's going to be much faster, which means it's going to get completed in 9 seconds approximately, which means that before the piston runs 1 or 2 times, the oil is going to come here. It touches and falls down, touches and falls down, touches and falls down, touches and falls down. Why? Because the oil is thin. But the thing is, the piston gets lubricated immediately. Okay, it touches and falls down, touches and falls down because it is thin. Okay, in the subsequent run, when the thermostat is open, the oil gets heated, and in the subsequent run, the oil, if it's going to be thin, and if it touches and fall, what happens is this piston is going to have more stress. Like assume we are going to push it in higher RPM. In that case, before the piston goes for the next time, there won't be any proper lubrication here, which is why we need a thick film to be applied when the engine is heat. Okay, that's where this second parameter comes in, 30, which means that whenever after the cold start, when it reaches the optimal temperature, the engine oil should have the viscosity of 30. That's what mentioned here. Okay, so when the engine gets heated, it is going to have the viscosity as 30. Okay, now what happens once the 5W30, that's what we are using there. In the cold start, the oil had viscosity of 5, it completed 9 seconds. Now the oil got heated, now it's going to flow with the viscosity of 30, and here it may take 12 seconds. Okay, so once, which is actually really good, because if it's going to flow in 12 seconds, it surely means that the oil is very thick. So applying a thick film here, which means that it will come, stand, fall, come, stand, fall, come, stand and fall, come and stand and fall. You are getting what I am saying, right? So even when the engine is stressed, there will be proper lubrication because the oil has formed a thick layer here. So to get that drained back to the sump, it takes some time. So obviously this piston is going to be completely lubricated throughout the process. That's what this 5W30 actually means is. Okay, now let's decode this 5W40. So W, as everyone know, it's very clear, and 5W, it's going to behave the same. So 5W, so in the cold start, it's going to follow the same 9-second method, and when the oil gets heated, it has 40 as viscosity. So 40 falls under much more thicker area. So 40 has to come the whole process, and this will take 15 seconds. So that's how this is going to happen. Okay, this is the overall picture. And apart from that, we have something called single graded and multi-graded oil. Okay, it's nothing but single graded is something like say that it will be specified like this, which means that it will have a single viscosity index, and multi-graded is something that we are doing now. So it has two viscosity levels, right? So 5 and 30. So one oil is going to work on two viscosities. This is multi-graded, and here it is going to be single viscosity, and this will be used in some applications like that lawn machine or something whichever needs some heavy duty operations, right? Okay, this is the overall picture. Now I think people got to understand on what is 5W30, what is 5W40 and everything. So we are fine to choose our engine oil based on viscosity index, correct? So my viscosity index specified is 5W30. So can I go and purchase this directly in the shop? Means my answer would be no, because this 5W30 alone is not enough to choose the right engine oil for a car. We have something called performance grade, and these are something specified by ACEA rating, API, JASO, and so many are there. Okay, so whenever we buy an engine oil, it should satisfy both these parameters. Any engine oil satisfies both these parameters would be the right engine oil for a car. So where can I find these two values which suits my car? Okay, these are specifically mentioned in your user's manual for sure. So to see this in live, I have taken the owner's manual of my car, like it's a Ford Figo spare. So let me show you a live demo. So if you go in here, this is the owner's manual where it is mentioned as, so see it's Ford Figo. So it's SAE 5W30, which means that our viscosity index 5W30 is satisfied. And the second thing is I was mentioning about, and also they have mentioned, right, it is acceptable to use SAE 5W30 engine oil that is defined by ACEA A5B5. So if you see here A5B5, so ACEA falls under performance grade. So 5W30 ACEA A5B5. So if I choose an engine oil that satisfies these two, it will provide the best performance for my car. And also, right, every company will have its own product too, right? So WSS M2C913D, this is some standard followed by Ford. It's Ford specific actually. If I find an oil that satisfies this particular value, which means that it by default corresponds to 5W30 and ACEA A5B5. Okay, but this is Ford specific. This is not specific to any engine oil. This is something specific to Ford's engine oil. But in the market, how we will get is 5W30, which follows the standard of ACA AFI-B5. That's how we used to get in the market. And there are certain aftermarket products that satisfies these two. Okay. Okay. Now let's see how. So now let's see how we can get our proper engine oil. So 5W30 and ACA AFI-B5. That's what mentioned for in our specification, right? So how I can get that? I can just type in the Google as 5W30 ACA AFI-B5. If you see here, I used to get all the oils that follows this standard. So I have an oil in Total, Idemitsu, Shell, everything has the same 5W30 and AFI-B5. And to be more specific, I used to choose Mobil. If I go to Indian site, you can see here. So it's a 5W30 engine oil, and if you see, this product meets or exceeds the requirement of ACA AFI-B5. So this is very important. So this oil will suit for my car. Okay, and apart from that, this oil, right, this also has this particular Ford specific approvals too. So if you see, this product has the approval of M2C913D. So M2C913D. So this is the best oil that suits for my car. Okay, now people may ask us, so we don't have a Ford car, we are having different car, how can we find for our car? Very, very simple. See here, I have like engine oil specification, just type something like this. So if you see here, it's Ertiga, everything has both ACE rating of AFI-B5 and A3-B4. But the thing is, if you choose to use AFI-B5, you should use 5W30, and if you choose to use A3-B4, you should use 5W40. This is very, very, very important. That's the main reason I am saying this again and again. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I believe everyone understood how to buy the right engine oil for a car. So with this, we will close this video. Thank you all, and please do like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.